Hi, everyone. My name's Rubina. I'm with Aspen Dental Management. I'm an academic recruiter. Aspen Dental is a dental support organization, and who I work for, which is ADMI. We are the support organization for Aspen Dental nationwide, which means we're supporting our doctors like Dr. McMahon, focus on treatment, focus on patients, and they don't have to then worry about everything else. So just that's a quick little intro about Aspen. Now, before we start this Ask Me Anything session with her, I just want to let you know there is a question and answer box on your bottom of your screen, and feel free to type in any questions you have so I can ask her. I also have a few questions that have already been submitted prior to. So often you'll see me looking over to this screen. It's not because there's a it's just because I have a second screen to just help me see her and see your guys' questions here as well as the questions there. So again, I'll be moderating, and you do have an option to ask questions privately too, so feel free to do that if you'd like. But other than that, we will begin our Ask Me Anything session with Dr. Lindsay McMahon. And if you could do an introduction.
My name is Dr. Lindsay McMahon. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. I work at the Parma location. I've been with Aspen for a little over 3 years now. I started practicing down in Columbus. I went to Ohio State and worked there for a couple of years, and then made my journey up to Cleveland and started with Aspen. And here I am.
Perfect. So just a general question right off the bat, what options did you out of dental school, and why in the end did you end up choosing Aspen?
So my journey to Aspen was a little bit longer. When I was in dental school looking to graduate, I was really looking for a position where I had a really strong mentor, somebody who can guide me, especially starting out, just graduating. So I originally went to a really small private practice and then moved to a larger practice. And I was really looking for somebody to help guide me and help grow me as a provider. So that's when I started looking into Aspen and joined on, and I've been there ever since.
Awesome. So what advice would you give a dental student, since most of our attendees are dental students, to be prepared coming out of dental school, especially with, treatment plans, keeping up speed, all of that stuff?
Honestly, I would say give yourself some grace. It is a huge transition. People say that you don't really know dentistry until you've been practicing for about 10 years. And that is a long time. So be kind with yourself. It's going to take time to get your confidence up. It's going to take time to get your speed up. And as you're growing and you're able to, kind of challenge yourself a little bit more with implants and periodontal procedures and certain surgical procedures, go ahead and do that. Just make sure you're training yourself and you're best prepared to do so.
Awesome. Um, Now, you did say you went to private practice at first.
Mhm.
Aspen versus private practice, how to decide?
So it really just depends on what you're looking to get out of the position. Starting out, I wanted a really strong mentor, and I felt like when I started in the small private practice, I was really just kind of thrown to the wolves. I was given my office. There was no training. I just showed up one day and went to it. So that was a really difficult transition for me. So I would say if I were to look back, I would probably want to do something more in terms of corporate dentistry, Aspen, where you have a team of doctors there that are supporting you and able to back you up with everything that you're trying to do during that transition period into practicing.
Awesome. Thank you. Um, was it hard getting used to treating so many patients? I know we talked prior to us starting the session, you were saying in your private practice, it was a little bit slower. And I know, with Aspen Dental, we try to see as many patients because we are a yes team or a yes environment. Was it hard getting used to treating so many patients? And with that, do you feel like you can really get to know your patients and have that relationship with them?
I think at first it was a little bit difficult, but just knowing that I had a full staff and a supportive team, I was able to really take my time and get used to the schedule and being double booked and things like that. And at this point, I honestly can say I get to spend a ton of time with my patients. I'm getting to know their families because they're bringing their families in, they're bringing their friends in. As you get more comfortable in the role and it's not taking you as long to do certain procedures, you have more time to actually sit down and have conversations with your patients. It is an adjustment though. It is, but no matter where you go, you're going to have that adjustment.
Can you like elaborate more on like how your schedule is, just to give a little bit of an example or insight to, for students?
Sure.
But also don't scare them, but you could scare them, let them know how it is. And I guess the transition from you starting to now, that kind of thing.
So, a typical day for me, I have a couple of columns open in my schedule. The first column is all restorative procedures, so like fillings, extractions, root canals, crown preps, that sort of thing. And then there is a new patient column where any patient that would like to be seen as a new patient, they've never been there before, they get scheduled there. And then the third column is what we call our overflow column, and that's typically denture adjustments and things like that. Now, it seems like a lot going into it, having three columns of patients that you need to pay attention to, but it's really not. It's really just your chair one that you need to focus on. The new patients, your dental assistants will bring them back. They will do all of their x-rays, they do the iTero scanning on them, and they will come to you and give you a heads up why the patient is there, if they're having pain, any issues or concerns that they may have. And then the overflow chair, honestly, my dental assistants take care of that for me. They do all the impressions, denture adjustments, and things like that. So it's really just that one column that I really need to focus on.
Thank you for that. Now with treatment plans, do you do your own treatment plans? Do you get to do the procedures you want, or is there another doctor in the office that chooses them? How does that work?
So the good thing about working in your own office is you get to treatment plan all your own patients and you actually get to follow through with that treatment plan. So it's not like somebody else is doing the work that you suggest, and you're not stuck doing the work that somebody else may suggest either. So I have full control of my treatment plans with all of my patients. I have full control of doing whatever procedures I want to do. If there is a procedure that I'm not comfortable with, such as like a molar root canal or placing implants or impacted wisdom teeth removal, we do have an oral surgeon on staff and we have an endodontist on staff that actually comes into your office and you are able to refer the patient to them. And you can even step in during those procedures and watch what the specialist does and see if that is something that you want to tackle later on.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Going along with that, choosing procedures and, having full autonomy, and, if with procedures you're not comfortable with, and having the oral surgeon or endodontist come in, when it comes to our pay structure, I'm sure someone will ask about that. We have something, we have a base pay and then profit sharing, but it's profit sharing of the entire office, not just what Dr. McMahon's planned for her month, or what she's done, or it's not just her and the other doctor in the office. It's her, if there's another doctor in the office, it's the hygienist, it's when the oral surgeon comes in, it's when the endodontist comes in, it's the entire office's production that helps or provides you with your profit sharing at the end of the month, which is really awesome.
Yes.
So you're never really fighting for procedures. So if you do you have another doctor in the office?
No.
No, it's just you.
Yep.
That's awesome. But eventually, I'm sure when it expands, or she might have an associate under her, it won't be that kind of. She's going to keep all the crowns and root canals and implants, and not let the new grad or new associate learn, because there's no to that. It's not like she's going to just get all that profit or anything like that. So it's a really good team environment. Just wanted to add that in. So. Do you have an office owner, POP?
I do, yes. So Dr. Popa is part owner of my office, and then obviously Dr. Lockeretti is the owner of the Parma location, and then I am moving forward to POP myself.
Oh, you are. Wonderful. So could you explain? That's awesome. I haven't talked to any MCDs or lead dentists that are moving from lead dentist to becoming an owner. Can you talk about how exactly that's going? What happened? How did it happen?
Um, Pretty much, Dr. Reddy had approached me shortly after I started there, just asking to see what my overall goals are, where I see myself with the company. And, I always wanted to be an owner of a practice. I didn't necessarily want all the pressure of ownership 100% on my shoulders. So I had a lot of conversations with him about that. And, he did extend the offer to me to eventually POP. And it's a very slow process, especially with COVID going on now. I've kind of taken a step back from that. I want to just make sure everybody's safe and everything. Um, but yeah, whenever somebody is ready to do that, I say just open up the conversation with him, and he is more than willing to help you out. He wants to see his employees move forward and grow with the company.
That's awesome. So he has, I think, roughly 20 practices.
26.
26 practices at Aspen Dental. Okay. And so he's going to be selling one to you. Is that how it's working, or partnership, or?
It will be a partnership. So he will sell a certain percentage to me. And after I purchase that percentage at that point, in terms of payment, I'll be getting like an additional paycheck for the percentage that I bought in. I will get an extra percentage of the total production for the company.
Wonderful. That's great news.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's awesome. Um, okay. So let's see. I had someone just ask about salaries and the starting salary. It really varies. We have, like we were talking about at POP, we have a practice ownership program. So that means we have doctors that own practices, and it's their practice. Aspen Dental Management is there to alleviate all the other stressors, marketing, insurances, HR, all of that kind of stuff. So it's really up to each POP to make a decision on what a base salary is. But right now we're looking at, we try to be at roughly $600 a day with profit sharing. And the profit sharing involves, like we had spoken about, it's the overall office profit. And it deals with your base salary as well, but you're guaranteed your base salary regardless. And with the profit sharing for associates, it goes from roughly 8 to 10% every month. And then for lead dentists, 16 to 20%, because the lead dentist does have more responsibility with, managing the office and staff and everything like that. But we're looking at usually a base salary of roughly 150 to 175, and that's without the profit sharing. And that can, really increase your salary even more.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. So I just wanted to answer that one. Perfect. I guess just a general question. What are you enjoying about dentistry?
Really, just getting to know my patients and seeing a full comprehensive treatment plan come to fruition. When you have a patient come in, and especially if it's, somebody younger and they have a lot of cosmetic issues and concerns, being able to sit down with them and listen to their concerns and develop a plan with them. And it could really change their lives. I've had patients, when I deliver their anterior crowns, and they cry and they say, I never knew I could look like this. And it's just so rewarding that something that you do day in and day out could have such an impact on somebody for the rest of their life. It's awesome.
That's so nice. You mentioned cosmetic dentistry. Do you do other procedures? I know a lot of people talk about Aspen Dental and they're like, you just do dentures, you just do extractions, that's it. So you do, full like anterior crowns, veneers, things like that.
I love it. I love cosmetic dentistry. And one of the great things is now we have the iTero scanner. So we're also offering the Invisalign treatment. So being able to see them transform their mouths with, just these little slight micro movements, and how it just changes their smile and their profile and everything. And then on top of that, we also provide whitening, veneers, crowns, whatever a patient needs, we're able to help them out with that.
That's wonderful. Um, Going along with the compensation question that was asked, how fairly do you get compensated for the time you put in? Like, what are your hours during the week? Do you feel like you have a good work-life balance?
So I typically work 41 hours a week. There is an occasional Saturday, like one Saturday a month, where we do work a couple more hours. So it can be anywhere from 41 to 47 hours a week. I would say for compensation purposes, I actually make more money at Aspen than I did at the two private practices that I worked at beforehand. So compensation is right on point. And I would say with the work-life balance, um, it's it's a lot easier now that I'm at Aspen and I have set hours where before like my hours could be flipped around and things like that. But you know when you're supposed to work. For instance, on Fridays, I only work 8 to 1. So I get to come home and spend time with my family and we take little weekend vacations and things like that. So no issues there.
Great. That's wonderful. Um, did you have options, when you were transitioning out of your private practice, did you have options of offices at Aspen Dental? How did you, someone just asked, like, do you have any suggestions on choosing the lead dentist or the POP office to work for? Because, during the interview, you can't really get to know what their working style is or if it's similar to you. And you only really get a sense of that after you start working with them. How do you figure that out?
I know when I first interviewed with Dr. Lockeretti, it's really it's dependent on the office that needs to be staffed at the time, and he will place you in the office that needs a doctor at the time. But he was always very open with me about how I felt, how I got along with everybody else on the staff, any movements that I felt like needed to happen. He was always very supportive. He wants his employees to be comfortable and happy because when his employees are happy, then they're going to make their patients happy. So he's always really willing to work and move people around if need be and make sure that you're comfortable in the position you're in.
Wonderful. I know. I love Dr. Lockeretti. He's so nice.
Great.
Um, so I just got this question about kind of rumors or things that are said about Aspen. And they said, you may be aware that one thing that goes around about Aspen is major procedure quotas. Can you speak on how true that is?
Honestly, I can't speak on that because that's never been a conversation that was had with me. Of course, anywhere you work, you want your office to be profitable. You need to make sure that you're producing enough to cover the overhead of the office and making sure your staff is being paid appropriately. But honestly, I have not had any issues with or any concerns brought to my attention in terms of making sure I'm hitting that specific number or anything like that. Aspen's really good at making sure they're advertising. We see way more new patients a day than any private practice. So it's really a non-issue.
Right, right. There's never you should be doing X amount of crowns a month to
No,
be.
no.
I mean, you have full autonomy as a doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
And there is a point to that, but you also have to make sure you're treatment planning your patients based off of what they need. You can't just tell a patient they need full mouth of crowns when that's not true. So you need to make sure that you're staying true to your patient and you're doing what is best for them.
Right, right. Thank you for clarifying. Um, Now, have you taken any CEs with Aspen?
I have. So I actually have an implant course coming up in 2 weekends. Yeah. So I'll be taking an implant course. And then there's also another implant course that's, I believe it's in Alabama or something like that, that I'm looking into attending as well.
Awesome. So with Aspen Dental, we have like a plethora of CE courses that you can take to the point where you don't really have to worry about your CEs. And we just started a new implant program, which is really exciting. I think that's the one you're talking about. Yeah, and it kind of got delayed with COVID. We were supposed to have people travel overseas and everything like that, but we're figuring it all out. But it's really exciting that we're moving forward with that. But someone had asked, like, can you choose what kind of classes or CE courses you want to take, or when it comes to having it paid for? will Aspen cover all of it? How does that work?
It probably depends on the course that you want to take because Aspen does offer a lot of various CE courses. There's so many, you can absolutely choose whatever you're interested in, but a majority of them, if Aspen is providing it, then yeah, the cost will be covered.
Awesome. And I guess if it wasn't something Aspen offered, it would be a conversation with your POP.
Yes. Mhm.
Wonderful. So you mentioned that you have a practice owner, and then I was talking about how all our offices, across the states are owned by doctors, different doctors. Do you know, are patient records available at any practice if they were to transfer, or for some reason they couldn't come see you and they had to go to a neighboring office?
Yeah, absolutely. So every patient has their own patient account. And if they were seen in your office and they had to go elsewhere, you can just type in their patient number and all their information will come up. What appointment they had at the other office, any doctor's notes that were written, any treatment plans that were put in place at that office. So everything is easily accessible.
Awesome. And then going along, so that's all digital stuff. What is the extent of digital dentistry used in your office?
100%. Everything is digital.
Yeah.
So X-rays are digital. Like I said, we had the iTero scanner from Invisalign. That's really cool because we can even email the scans to our patients, so they have a record of their scan. All patient records are digital. Any forms that they fill out are all uploaded, and you can search for those on EPMS.
Wonderful. And do patients get to see their iTero scans when they're, yeah? Oh,
Yep.
awesome.
We have this big thing and you go in and you scan them and it's up on this big screen. And if they want to take a copy of that home, we can just send an email to them. So they
Oh,
have,
I'm sure that like helps so much more like with explaining things.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's
Awesome.
very helpful when a patient can say, when you tell a patient, hey, you have a cavity in this tooth, and they're like, well, it doesn't hurt. But if you can show them that they have a huge cavity in that tooth, they're more likely to get the treatment done.
Definitely, definitely. Along with those patient records, someone just asked, are they available nationwide or just within, your Dr. Locky Ready practice?
Honestly, I'm not sure because I never tried to look outside of Dr. Reddy's POP.
Look at mine tomorrow. No, I'm just joking.
Sure.
I believe they are. I've had mine sent somewhere else.
Okay.
I think they are,
Yeah.
but you can look at mine tomorrow. um, So someone just asked, does Aspen Dental typically hire new graduates, or does HR look for graduates within 1 to 2 years of experience and or residency? I can answer that. We do hire new graduates. We have a bunch of events that promote the hiring of new graduates. We have vibe sessions, and those are about 2 to 3 times a year. And it's a session for D4s where we have you do almost like speed dating interviews with our POPs, our owner doctors, and the owner doctors are there for a reason because they have openings that they're predicting that they'll have in May, June, July when you do graduate. So we definitely hire that are fresh out of dental school. We also hire, after residency, whatever you feel comfortable with. We kind of look at Aspen Dental as a mini residency too, because your first month to 2 months, you're shadowing, working with a lead dentist like Dr. McMahon, and learning the ways of, what you like to treatment plan, how long you need for treatment plans, and all that good stuff. So, but definitely 100%, we hire new grads. We'll be having another vibe session, I think in February. So if you're a D4, definitely join. If you're not, wait till you do for a year. It's a great event. This year it's all virtual, but usually we fly you out to somewhere cool. We had New York last year, I think at the Memorial Tower, where we had it, Dallas, Georgia, Chicago, a lot of good fun places. But this year it's virtual, obviously. But yes, we hire new graduates. Perfect. So this is a pretty broad question. What is your philosophy on dentistry?
It is very broad.
Answer it however you'd like.
My philosophy would be to treat the patient, not the mouth. So identify what a patient is actually looking for. What are their overall goals? I think a lot of times when patients come into a dental practice and they have not been to a dentist in 10 years or so, they get completely overwhelmed with their periodontal status, needing all these extractions, crowns, fillings. But I think it's really important to make sure that you actually sit and listen to the patient and you find out what their overall goals are, so you're able to get them into a comfortable place before they're willing to move forward with more treatment. So definitely treat the patient.
That's very nice. What type of patient population do you see?
um, i would see I would say a majority are elderly patients. I know Aspen has a lot of, they're very heavy in dentures and things like that. And the reason being is because Aspen actually has its own laboratory in every single office. We have our own lab tech. So all dentures we're making in house, any repairs we're making in house, wax try-ins, wax bites, you're not having to send those out to an outside lab and waiting weeks for them to come back. So a lot of patients really do flock to Aspen for those prosthetic needs because we can move so quickly.
Right, right. And that's a huge part. I think a lot of people don't know that we have those labs within, and
Mhm.
that's what allows us to allows us to treat our patients very fast, but also gives us that unfortunate stigma for some reason.
Which I
Um,
don't really is stigma though. I mean, it's great. We have a service that we offer to patients and they love it. So,
Definitely, definitely. I think it's just like the rumor mill of,
yeah.
yeah. But so you talked about the good things about Aspen. Do you feel like you've grown as a dentist since starting with Aspen?
Absolutely, 100%. Especially with procedures that originally I wasn't comfortable with. I've been really trying to push myself out of that comfort zone and do certain things that normally I wouldn't have done. Like I said, since we do have an oral surgeon that comes into the office, if I have a procedure that I'm, a little bit anxious about or not sure how it's going to go, I'll always make sure that I schedule that appointment when the oral surgeon is there. So if anything were to occur, I can always just, pop on over and grab him and he'll come in and save the day. But at the same time, I'm able to sit in with those complicated procedures and ask questions. And, you get firsthand experience from all these specialties that are just willing to help you out. And you can learn a lot if you put the time into it.
It seems like it's like you're continuously learning, and it's like what you've been practicing since 2014, right?
Mhm.
And you still have questions, so it's normal. Like I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
it's a good thing, like these dental students can see like it's normal to have hesitation, have questions, learn more. So it's great. Thank you for that. um, Now just some COVID questions. How has COVID impacted dentistry for you?
So, right when COVID hit, we were placed on furlough for probably about 5 weeks or so. We did have a couple of offices that remained open for emergency patients to be seen, but a majority of them we were placed on furlough, which furlough means that you're able to keep your benefits, which is really important during a pandemic. You want to make sure you have health insurance, but you can also apply for any government assistance that you might need in that time. So we were out for a little bit. And then once we came back, honestly, not much has changed because we've always made sure that we were on top of our PPE. And, I would say the only big difference is I do wear two masks now. I wear the N95 and then I wear level 3 on top of it. But other than that, there really hasn't been too many changes.
So there hasn't been any like PPE shortages for you guys. Did you feel like you were running out at any point?
No.
That's good. Yeah, I was going to say we're actually the second largest purchaser of PPE next to the US government. So that's really huge when it comes to working or purchasing from Henry Schein. So it just shows like how big the buying power of Aspen is, and how large our network is to be able to not have shortages of PPE. to the point where when I was talking to one of our Michigan doctors, she was telling me that they had so much PPE that they just went to the hospital next door and donated PPE like extra that they had because they felt like they just had a surplus and they were like, we need to help more. And so they were able to donate to the hospital next door. So I thought that was really awesome. Um, going along with the COVID questions, do you feel like your office isn't as busy? Are you lacking in compensation due to COVID? Did anything like that change?
I feel like we're actually a little bit busier. There are a lot of private practices and even some corporate offices that did not make it through the first surge of COVID, where they actually had to shut their doors and went out of business. So we are getting a lot of patients from other offices who were not able to continue their treatment elsewhere.
Wow, that's crazy. Um, Now you mentioned you feel like things didn't really change with COVID when it came to like, wearing your masks and everything, just double masking and everything like that. But were there policies put into place with the office when it comes to protecting the patients and office staff?
Absolutely. So every morning when we come in, we have to take our temperatures and we have to log it. Every single patient that comes in, we take their temperatures and they have a questionnaire that they have to fill out. We do practice social distancing within the office. Before we would just wear masks in the operatories. Now we wear masks everywhere in the office. So that is a little bit different. We're making sure that, all the chairs in the waiting room are wiped down, that the waiting room doesn't get too busy. If we do feel like we're not able to separate people, we will have patients wait in their cars and then we'll call them when they're ready to come in.
That's great. That's really great. So getting out of COVID questions onto lighter things, when it comes to your office, you've been with Aspen, I think 3 years now. How involved are you with hiring office staff, associates, hygienists, front staff?
So I'm involved in all of the hiring in the office. Typically, when somebody applies for a position, then my regional manager will contact them or my office manager will contact them, and then they will go ahead and do a preliminary interview with them. And if they like them, then they'll go ahead and set up an interview with me.
Awesome. So you do have say in who's in your office and everything. That's
Absolutely.
great. That's great. I feel like that's really important, especially, since it's your little family that you're going to have to work with and not a
Yeah.
recruiter like me or something.
Spend a lot of time together, so we need to make sure we get along.
Definitely, definitely. So I know you don't have an associate in the office, but if you were to, someone just asked, what do you look for in making a hiring decision? What can one do to build their resume?
I wouldn't be so much concerned about building your resume at this point when you're just a D4. We expect your resume to be a little bit light because you haven't had, that opportunity to work in the dental field yet. But I would say, as in hiring, I'm really just looking for somebody who's eager and somebody who is willing to grow and move forward in their position. Not just stay in the position of an associate, but eventually become an MCD or POP and just keep moving up in the company.
Wonderful. Um, with Aspen Dental, what's one thing you really like and one thing you'd like to improve?
So I would say the one thing that I really like is the camaraderie we have in our office and amongst the various offices that Dr. Lockready owns. Um, he is always trying, not so much now because of COVID, but he's always trying to plan little outings for everybody. There's constantly competitions going on where you can win prizes and things like that. In terms of things that I would like to change, um, I would have to think about that.
Okay. um, Sorry, someone just asked a follow-up to the resume question that I just answered privately. Um, let's see. Can you elaborate more on your journey going into partnership, about to go into partnership / ownership with Dr. Lockready? Did you have to have multiple conversations? Did he just see it in you? How exactly, did that first conversation happen?
Honestly, when he first approached me, I knew it was always an option. When I first applied for the position, I knew that, there was always opportunity to become POP. And then after working for a couple of months, he did approach me in terms of finding out what my goals are with the company. And like I said, the process has been extended quite a bit due to COVID. But we're still moving forward with it. And we have multiple dinners over it. Any questions that I have, because I never seem to remember the questions when I'm sitting down with him. I always think about it later on in the day. So any questions I have, I can just text him or call him, and he's always ready and willing to meet with me and answer any questions that I have.
That's awesome. So would you consider him your mentor with Aspen Dental?
100%. He is always available.
Okay, I was just about to say, is it easy to access your mentor? Because I know with dental students starting, or once they graduate, it's a fear like, who do I talk to? Especially if they don't have, someone in their family or a friend that's a dentist, like, who do I talk to? Like, how do I know?
And I think that's what I really struggled with when I first started out and I was in that small private practice, because I didn't know. I had so many questions. I didn't know what to expect. You do a prep and you're looking over your shoulder waiting for somebody to make sure all the caries is removed and nobody's there. So it's really tough. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to look for other opportunities. But like I said, Dr. Reddy is always available to answer any questions that I have. If I have more clinical questions, I always have Dr. Popa, who is the other POP of the Parma location. He's on my speed dial too, and I can always call him and send him pictures of x-rays and say, what would you do? And he's like, oh, I would do this or I would do that. And then you have the endodontist and the oral surgeon as well. I have their phone numbers saved in my phone, and I'm always texting and in contact with them.
Awesome. That's good. Good to know for everyone and their anxiety with that. And it's awesome that you had, I mean, it's terrible that you had that experience with the private practice, but it's awesome to know that there was such a big change when you did join Aspen and you felt you had that access.
Mhm. And that would have been huge as a new graduate too, I
Yeah,
feel.
definitely. We talked about building a resume for an associate. What do you think are the best things, or what do you think people should show when they're interviewing as an associate coming out of dental school? Since, like you said, they really don't have much to say.
Right.
What would a POP, or what would you, if your office was expanding, what would you look for when you're talking to a new grad? Um, and what would you be looking for as for an associate?
Ask a lot of questions, because like I said, we're always looking for people to start with the company and move up with the company. We don't want a lot of people transitioning in and out of the company. So ask a lot of questions. Make sure you know what is expected of you, what procedures you're going to be doing, what your daily tasks are. Even ask to look at the schedule so you can see what that looks like. Check out EPMS, which is our computer system that everything's logged into, and just make sure you ask a ton of questions.
Yeah, I've had, we always advise, even ask for the profit and loss statement, ask for shadow dates too, so you can really see, if this is a match for you as well. And then I've heard from a lot of docs, personalities, everything, since everyone's is going to graduate, like knock on wood. But once you do graduate and you start applying, you've completed what you've got to, you've done, but have that personality. Um, so yeah, thanks, Doc. Um, what challenges do you face day to day and how do you overcome them?
I would say my biggest challenge right now specifically is with patients who are getting immediate dentures. So immediate dentures are where we take the impression and make the denture prior to any extractions. And then when they come in for their extractions, we seat the denture the same day. That is a huge adjustment for patients. And a lot of times they don't realize that. So I always make sure during that consult period, I'm discussing with them what to expect. You know, we'll have patients who have 20 teeth extracted and then say, I can't eat a steak in this denture the next day. And I'm like, no, you can't. So I'm always constantly trying to make sure that I'm communicating with my patients and I'm answering all their questions so they know what to expect throughout that journey while they're healing. And to let them know that I'm going to be there for them throughout that process as well. And, they can call anytime for adjustments and concerns and things like that. And it's all very normal.
That's great. I just had someone ask, when you become an owner, are you going to work or are you going to just be admin?
I'm going to work 100%.
Now, does your POP, since he has 26, 27 offices or practices, does he work?
He has actually come into my office when I was just learning how to place mini implants. He actually came into the office and saw a couple of patients with me to make sure I was, doing it properly. But typically he just floats around from office to office just to make sure everything's running smoothly and there aren't any issues that he needs to take care of.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot of mentoring, especially with that many offices. I can't imagine he practices out of each and every one of them. um, Now, I just had a question. I just lost it. Now, what kind of atmosphere, since you're the lead dentist in the office and it's just you don't have an associate in the office, what atmosphere do you strive to create for, your essentially your practice?
I like for my office to be a little bit more laid back. I want to make sure that my staff is having fun and let them know that as long as they work hard for me, that I'll work hard for them. I have a very, very close relationship with my office manager as well as my dental assistants and even my PSR. We're on group texts all the time. When we had that huge snowstorm, we were all texting each other, make sure we got home okay. So I really strive to make sure everybody has a really close relationship and we all get along and actually enjoy being together since we are together so much.
Wonderful. So that's your family at work. Now, outside of work, outside of dentistry, who are you and what do you like to do?
Well, I am a wife and I'm a mother. I have a 7-year-old little girl and a 4-year-old little boy, and they keep me pretty busy and on my toes. And I have a 1-year-old sheepadoodle whose name is Bob. So I am constantly chasing him around, making sure he's not chewing on things. But typically, we just like to spend time as a family and, go out to dinner when we can. We also really enjoy going to Kalahari. Kalahari is like my happy place. It's an indoor water park. So I love that place. So anytime we get a break, we try to spend time together.
That's awesome. Do you guys go to the one in Pennsylvania or is there one in Ohio?
There's one in Sandusky.
Oh, okay, awesome. Oh, so that's so super close.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I guess if COVID didn't happen, what would your summer have looked like, or what would be the first thing you're gonna do?
So we were supposed to take my kids to Disney World. My daughter's been there before, but it would have been my son's first time. So we were planning on doing that. So that got postponed to March. So we'll see if that actually happens.
Yeah, I think they have the parks open. I've seen. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
makes me
see.
nervous though.
Yeah, I know. Right now, especially right now.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's all the questions I have for you and for this session tonight. So you answered so many questions, so I'm just going to cut it short just by a few minutes. Do you have any closing remarks you'd like to say to any of the students, any advice? Otherwise, we can end the session.
I would just say I'm assuming most everybody is a D4 and it's very crazy, very hectic. Stick with it. You'll do just fine, but it'll end soon enough. There is light at the end of the tunnel.
Wonderful. So I just wanted to thank all of our attendees and then of course, Dr. McMahon for joining this Ask Me Anything session. If you have any further questions, feel free to email me. You should have my email address and I can forward all of your questions to her. And, if you have interest in shadowing, if you do go to Case Western or even OSU, we have offices in the Columbus area. But we can offer shadowing opportunities, of course, limited, with COVID and everything like that, but we have shadowing opportunities. So I really think, especially if you're a D4, something you should look into. But other than that, email me if you have any questions. And thank you again, Dr. McMahon, for spending your evening with us.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.